it kind of goes to the ground like butter. You put the tree in, and then you just seal it with your foot like that. So it's a quick way to plant a tree. Hi, my name's Gearóid. I'm 21 years old and I've planted 10,000 trees in Ireland. We're in Dunsany Nature Reserve, which is one of our tree planting sites, and what's really special about here is it's one of the only places in Ireland that we've left to rewild and come back to nature. So my project is called Reforestation Nation, and the idea behind the project is to make restoring biodiversity and fighting climate change accessible to everyone by putting nature before profit. The target this year is to plant 30,000 trees, and within the next 3 years I want to plant 100,000 trees, and ultimately 1 million, but we'll see how we go with the first 100,000 and go from there. I have really big ambitions. For me, the success of my project isn't about profit, it's about how many trees are in the ground. Since I was young, I grew up on a farm, so I've always been surrounded by nature, and seeing animal documentaries from people like David Attenborough and you know, on the TV really kind of inspired me to get into it. And my whole life I've been into nature, you know. Started with dinosaurs, I moved up to animals, and eventually I ended up studying wildlife biology in college. So it was actually during lockdown in Ireland last year, during coronavirus. I was sitting doing nothing, and my dad came up with an idea of maybe something to do in my local area, and I was like, oh, that sounds like a good idea because we don't have many trees here. So that was when I started coming up with ideas and trying to start a website for it and thinking about what we can do, and it ended up not just being something in my local area, but something that potentially we could do across Ireland. This is the Scots pine. So this is actually our only native pine tree, and these used to cover the mountains in Ireland, but a few thousand years ago they were all cut down by early farmers. And one of the reasons they think they didn't grow back is actually because when you cut these trees at the base, they don't reshoot. If you go to the mountains in Ireland now, you'll find bog, and that bog is actually the decayed remains of these Scots pine forests. And you will actually still find tree stumps of like 5,000-year-old Scots pine still in the bog. And I actually have some pieces of bark from 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 years ago at home that I collected from these bogs in the mountains. So, and from those original few trees we were able to get, you know, a population, and now we're kind of reforesting Ireland with these once extinct species. So. There's a lot of different benefits of planting trees. You know, you got the two big ones, which is biodiversity and fighting climate change. And you know, the biodiversity crisis and climate change are the two biggest threats to our world. You know, if you have good biodiversity, it helps the planet to withstand climate change, and climate change itself can damage biodiversity, so they're very linked to each other. And planting trees is a way to fight both of those. You know, if you create a more natural ecosystem, it helps everything to do better that is from here, and actually helps compete with the invasive species. You know, invasive species like when an ecosystem's damaged because they get a chance to come in there and do damage. Removal of trees is definitely one of the most significant things humans have done to the planet, because we've removed half of the forests in the world. So unfortunately we've weakened our planet by removing our trees, which means that our planet is less able to fight climate change and be able to adapt. And trees are great because they provide food for so many different types of animals. Like, we plant the most diverse range of any initiative in Ireland, and they provide lots of shelter for animals, so they're a way of achieving a lot with just doing a simple thing like planting a tree. So yeah, the best way people can help is just to help fund our planting efforts, because it's not too hard to plant the trees once we have them available, once we have the sites. So the more people you get behind us, more trees we can plant.